Welcome to The Guide at Fish North Georgia. Brought to you by these fine sponsors. Spro, working with America's best anglers to design the world's finest fishing tackle. Nichols Lures, handcrafted to perfection. Georgia Blade, makers of premium fishing lures for over 3 decades and home to the Georgia Jig. Crypto Bass, tournament grade, Georgia made. And be sure to visit fishnorthgeorgia.com. Now here's Sammy Benitez.
Hey guys, this is Sammy Benitez here. I am with Fish North Georgia, the guide, and I want to tell you a little bit about my most recent trip to Hickory Log Creek Reservoir. So just to begin, normally I film all of these things and upload them to my YouTube channel, Sammy Benitez. I lost all the audio for all the footage I have for this trip, and there's no sense in making a silent video, so I'm going to include some clips as I tell you about my report here. But to begin, I launched around 5 and fished to about 8, so just had a few hours on the water. It was overcast and drizzling the whole time I was out there. Water temp was about 57 degrees, ambient temp was about 60 degrees, and I chose to fish only by the ramp for 2 particular reasons. One, because Hickory Log Creek Reservoir, we are in pre-spawn conditions. I've checked a lot of shallows and I haven't seen anything in those areas yet, and we're just shy of that perfect water temp for these bass to start spawning. So the front of the reservoir by the ramp, the deepest it gets is about 15 foot of water, so I'm focusing on that 15 to 5 area right now. And 2, because it's some of the dirtiest water on the reservoir, and the dirtiest water tends to be the warmest water, which is what I want to target now in this pre-spawn time. So for those 2 reasons, I chose this area. And so to begin my trip, I started by throwing a bunch of search baits. Crankbait, rattle trap, chatterbait, A-rig, jerkbait, spinnerbait, and I wasn't having any luck. A lot of times I'll throw all of those until I get a bite, and then I'll try and focus in on that area, trying a few other techniques to see if I can hook up with more. So none of that worked, so then I started trying to finesse some points by drop shot, Ned rig, and jig, and still had no luck. But in the distance I saw what looked like heavier raindrops in this one particular cove. So I made my way over there and I found out it was actually shad just kind of fluttering on the surface. Looked a lot like shad spawn, even though we're probably 2 months too early for that, maybe 1 month too early. But the shad spawn will be coming soon, probably around May. But these fish were just there, the shad. So I took all those same baits and started throwing them in this same area, and I wasn't hooking up with anything. I even got back to some of the lures I was throwing, because I was confident if there's bait fish, there's bass in the area. So I was throwing this Aruku Shad 60 by Spro for a second time, and I let it sink to the bottom of the water, and I let it sit there for a minute before pulling it up, and right away I already had a fish as soon as I got it off the bottom. It was probably close to a 2-pound largemouth, and as I was bringing it up to the boat, I actually lost it right beside it. So guys, if I have some advice for you, it would be, if you have a net, make sure it's ready and prepared. You never know what you're going to catch or how you're going to hook these fish, so make sure you get it ready on deck. So after that, I kept doing it, but it didn't hook up with anything. So I ended up coming back to the crankbait, and I was throwing this OSP medium diver. It dives about 9 to 12 foot of water in a chartreuse color, because like I said, it's a little dirtier. It probably had 3 foot of visibility in this area of the reservoir. And I was throwing this on a medium fast action, medium power rod, because it's got a nice parabolic bend. So when you hook up with these fish, the rod tip stays bent when they're jumping, when they're shaking their head, and keeps the hook penetrated in their mouth. All this to say, even with the right gear, you still lose a couple fish here and there. So while I was throwing that crankbait, I hooked up with 4 fish total. 2 of them I lost before I could ever see them. One of them was pretty small, but there was one that was just shy of 2 pounds, best fish that I landed in the boat that particular day. And it was all thanks to that crankbait, the rod, and because I had the net ready when it was time to land that fish. So in brief, we are pre-spawn on Hickory Log Creek Reservoir. I encourage you, get out on the water and try a lot of these things. Try some new things. I say it all the time, but there's no replacement for time on the water or time on the bank. You learn so much even when you're unsuccessful by being out there, and you can look back at it and see what went wrong, what went right, which is why I record a lot of the stuff I do, because I want it for myself, for memory's sake. If something special happens, I've got it on camera, but I also learn from those previous experiences and I can go back and look at them. So I hope this helps you on your time on the water out at Hickory Log Creek Reservoir. We will catch you later. Thanks for tuning in. Peace, guys.
Thanks for watching the guide here at Fish North Georgia. Our mission is to build a community of anglers to give you the best and latest information to make your day on the water more successful. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, click the bell so you'll be notified of any future content. Make sure you check us out at fishnorthgeorgia.com, where we carry a large variety of bait manufacturers from here in the North Georgia area. So we appreciate you being part of our community, and we'll see you soon.